Hi everyone, today we're going to talk about how we create and read dot plots and frequency tables. You do not need to write down everything we'll cover in this video, but be sure to jot down important information and at least one example of each type of problem that we'll cover. Also remember that you can pause the video to jot down important notes, rewind to view information again, and fast forward if you think you got it. But don't fast forward so much that you miss out on something important. Alright, so when we are collecting data to answer our statistical question, we are going to have to somehow jot down our data, right? So that's when we use a frequency table. Frequency just tells us how often a data point occurs. So a frequency table is a way for us to organize that raw data. And what I mean by raw data is just data you just collected. You haven't done anything to it yet, you're just recording it. That's what we call raw data. So a frequency table helps us organize all that data. We usually put it in ascending order, so that means just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then we record the frequency. So frequency, again, is how often it occurs. So if I am, let's say, asking people in my class, say how many times they've gone to the bathroom so far, I would make this frequency table, and every time someone tells me their answer, I would put a tally mark next to their answer. So according to this table, I have 4 tally marks for 1, so that means the frequency for 1 as an answer is 4. 4 people said they've gone to the bathroom once today so far. 9 people said that they've gone to the bathroom twice today, and so on. So we put in ascending order. The tally is pretty much just a way for us to quickly write down people's answers, and then the frequency is our final tally of how often that data point occurred. Go ahead and pause the video and jot this down in your notes. Okay, now a dot plot is pretty self-explanatory when you see the dot plot. So it's a statistical chart, and it's going to basically put a dot for each frequency. So if I were to make a dot plot from this frequency, I would put down 4 dots for 1, 9 dots for 2, 6 dots for 3, 7 dots for 4, 3 dots for 5, and 2 dots for 6. So the dots just tell us the frequency. The reason why we changed the frequency chart or the frequency table into the dot plot is so that we can see, and we'll talk more about this in a future lesson, the shape of our data. In a frequency table, you can kind of see it if you looked at it sideways. If you return this sideways, it kind of makes a dot plot as well, although this extra line here isn't really counted as an extra stack, right? So if we were to look at the dot plot for this information, we'll see, okay, most people have gone to the bathroom, I would say 2 to 4 times in the day. That's what the shape tells us, because it clumps over on these numbers more. So the dot plot, again, just puts a dot for each frequency, and it's going to give us a little bit more information because it's laid out where we can find the shape. So minutes to eat breakfast, for this dot plot here, we'll see that most people eat between 0 to 5 minutes and 8 to 12 minutes. There's this gap between 6 and 7 for some reason. So either people are really fast and they take less than 5 minutes, or they kind of eat slowly and enjoy themselves and take about 8 to 12 minutes. And I can also find out people who didn't, it seems like they didn't even eat breakfast at all. So in addition to the frequency, it tells us the shape as well. Make sure that this is in your notebook, and we're going to go over some examples. Okay, so for this problem, we have the following frequency table, which shows the number of A's each student in Miss Zast's class received. What was the maximum number of A's that a student received? Go ahead and pause the video and try it on your own. All right, if I'm going to solve this problem, I'm going to need to figure out first what the word maximum means. Maximum means the most. So what was the most number of A's that a student received? My eyes gravitate towards this piece of data because I see 15 is the largest number in this column, and also this piece of data because 5 is the largest in this column. They want to know what was the maximum number of A's, most number of A's. So that would be this one right here, not this one. The most number of A's was 5. 5 A's. That was the most that anybody got, it seemed. The most number of people chose this option or got this option. Most people got 3 A's. However, the most possible that a student could receive was 5 A's. So very important to read that question properly and read your frequency table properly. Okay, let's try another one. All right, so you should also be able to read a dot plot. So this dot plot here shows the mass of each rock in Nidja's rock collection. Each dot represents a different rock. So they want to know how many rocks has a mass less than 38 grams. Pause the video and try it. Okay, less than 38 grams. Here's 38 grams. Being exactly at 38 doesn't count. It has to be less than. So these two. Looks like there's 2 rocks that have a mass less than 38 grams. Okay. They could also ask you how many rocks are in her collection. And if these are 2 rocks, that'd be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 rocks total in her collection. Because each of those rocks represent, or each of those dots represent a rock. You could also be asked to create a dot plot. So they'll give you an empty dot plot, and then you'll have to put the dots in yourself. So go ahead and pause the video and try this one on your own. The following data points represent the number of losses the Minnesota Igloos have had each season. So there's 10, 9, 12, 10, 11, 12, and 11. Using this data, create a dot plot where each dot represents a session or season. So if you were using a frequency table, you would create losses to frequency, and then you would have 9, 10, 11, and 12. And every time you saw a 9, you would put a tally there for a frequency. Every time you saw a 10, you would put a tally there for the frequency. 11 and 12. Okay, that's if you had a frequency table. For a dot plot, you would need to put a dot wherever you have one frequency. So for 9, it was 1 dot. For 10, it was 11 dots. Or sorry, for 10, it was 2 dots. For 11, it was 2 dots. And for 12, it was 1 dot. Okay, so it kind of shows you that shape. Please note that if you're making a dot plot by scratch, you should have an even amount of space between each of those numbers, and your numbers should go in order. It shouldn't go like 9, 11, 20, right? Between these there's 2, but between these there's 9. So you want to make sure it's evenly spaced out by going by 1s all the way, by 2s all the way, by 3s all the way. But jumping numbers like this unevenly is not good. That doesn't help you figure out the shape. Okay? Well, I was going to draw, but that was just making dots. All right. Oh, I missed a 12 right there. I was breezing through and I missed a 12. There we go. So you want to make sure that you're double checking your work. All right, let me know if you have any questions as you work on these problems, and I'll see you in class.